This session is Protecting Your Cloud Services from DDoS Attacks by Chris Lopez.
So hi, I'm Chris Lopez, technical marketing engineer for Cloudflare. I'm here today to show you how you can use Cloudflare to protect your cloud services from DDoS attacks. But let's back up real fast. So as it stands today, government agencies find themselves under increasing pressure to thrive and adapt to a volatile environment. All right, your agencies are operating under increasing pressure from factors like the macroeconomy and inflation, complex geopolitical environment, and increased and more prevalent and more intelligent cyber risks. And taken together, all of these lead to an increased need for spending in cybersecurity and data privacy. And meanwhile, your constituents have higher expectations for the digital services that you provide. It's no longer about good enough, it has to be outstanding. And your employees are working from home and from the office and while they're traveling. And they need to be able to receive better digital experiences that you may or may not be able to provide. So, legacy networks and security products are too complex and they're too vulnerable and fragile to enable organizations to pursue their goals. So when you look under the hood at how most organizations set up their IT and security today, you're going to see a mess that looks something like this. Right, this architecture reflects too many point solutions and too many different routes for traffic without consistency in security posture enforcement across remote, office, and third-party users. And managing all of this, even if you make this multiple people's full-time job, sometimes managing all of that can still be too unwieldy, and it can hold your agency back from delivering the digital experiences that you need to be competitive. So I'd like to bring in Cloudflare. On top of our network, which began as a world-class CDN, we've built a unified security platform powered by threat intelligence from our ultra-fast globe-spanning network. All right, we have network-powered security with all of our services under one control plane, and that helps organizations improve security, reduce complexity, and innovate with confidence. Specifically for our FedRamp instance, I'd like to point out that we have more POPs than any other SASE provider. SASE is Secure Access Service Edge, and existing partnerships with many U.S. government agencies, including CISA, specifically for the protective DNS, and our .gov top-level domain. So what I mean exactly, what exactly does Cloudflare do for your organization? Well, there's 4 things I'm going to talk about here. One is secure your hybrid workforce. So that's probably a very marketing style service that we're providing there, but it corresponds to a number of pain points. Mainly, we're looking at VPN replacement, really just like the issues that you get like with performance bottlenecks from a VPN. You get threat defense and also data protection. Right, so the Cloudflare services that correspond to that are our Zero Trust Network Access, our Secure Web Gateway, remote browser isolation, cloud email security, and our WAN firewall as a service. Also, supercharge your application performance with our CDN. So obviously our CDN complete with rate limiting and load balancing. Next, we're going to be protecting citizen services. So in that sense, we use our WAF, our API gateway, our DDoS, bot management, and page shield. Then we protect the network at a layer 3 level with Magic Transit and Magic Firewall. So the demo that I'm going to be giving today is specifically about protecting the network and protecting citizen services. So we're going to be going over Magic Transit and our web application firewall, also along with API gateway and bot management. So I'd also like to remind everybody that we have a partnership with Mandiant. So basically, we take advantage of Mandiant's threat intelligence, and you're actually going to be able to look up those threats in the same place that you have a Cloudflare dashboard. And this exists for all Mandiant customers and partners. And essentially, I just want to say that Cloudflare, in a nutshell, is a complete networking and security platform. And it is, well, really, it's top of its class, mainly because we are using our advanced CDN network to be able to deliver all these security services at a way that's very scalable for your organization. But don't take our word for it. Let's look at a couple of case studies. So first off, we have Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. So they had a few problems. They over-relied on traditional VPN. Right? They were backhauling traffic through a full-tunnel VPN, and that was obviously being a bottleneck for a lot of the users who were there. Right? So they had no multi-factor authentication. They had no identity checks for legacy apps. And they had certain apps that are only accessible on-prem. So there you have an issue because you can't configure zero trust security rules or principles behind, for applications that are sitting behind a VPN. And you have, if you have key self-hosted tools like procurement that are not available to remote users, that is in and of itself going to become a performance bottleneck. So with Cloudflare, they were able to comply with the White House directives to, basically push for zero trust. They had seamless remote access enabled through a web browser without the need for a backhauling via a VPN. And they had built-in identity and device posture checks. So for context-aware, granular policies applied consistently wherever the users are. Next, we also partnered with the Arizona Department of Homeland Security to empower users for the Cyber Readiness Program. So essentially, an issue here is that we have a lot of people who are benefiting from the Cyber Readiness Program, but they don't necessarily have the resources or the staff to be able to implement it. So with Cloudflare, they joined forces to be able to provide free cybersecurity services for a lot of smaller users, and also complete Layer 7 protection for a Cloudflare WAF, bot management, and content delivery. And really, with Cloudflare, they were able to make security simple with easily deployed cloud-native solutions and Cloudflare support. So, in this sense, we're going to go ahead and get to the demo here. This is not going to be the full scope of what Cloudflare can do, but it's going to be the most effective thing that I can show you, basically how we can protect ourselves and others from common cybersecurity attacks, so like DDoS, and also showing you what we can do in terms of bot management and our API shield. So, we may have the wrong slide deck here. So what I really want to do is get everyone an understanding of how our DDoS solution called Magic Transit, how that works. Actually, I'm good to cut over to the laptop. So what I really want to do is give everyone an understanding of how Magic Transit works. Talk a little bit about the DDoS mitigation mechanisms, and then hopefully show you a really quick view of a simulated attack that we stopped, and then some details that are on the dashboard. So the way that we're doing this is we're broadcasting customers' IP space through our network. So essentially, if anybody's trying to access resources at a customer location, we're going to BGP announce that address to come to us first, right? So we handle the traffic. Obviously, we do all of our great other functionalities at the edge, but we're going to be handling the traffic, mostly DDoS. We're going to be mitigating it and sending that traffic back down to the customer network through network tunnels or CNI, like Cloudflare Network Interconnect. Now, usually customers are going to have redundant connections, obviously multiple data centers, multiple locations, but the idea is without Cloudflare, the customer edge is really the entry point for traffic. It's announced as their IP space. And they're going to want to make sure that any traffic that's coming in is clean and legitimate. So with Magic Transit enabled, essentially everything that's going to come into Cloudflare, we're going to front that traffic through our network. So what that means is the connections that are coming in, they're going to hit the closest data center to the request. So by design, obviously at first, our Anycast network is going to be distributing that traffic. And what we mean is, by distributing the traffic, you're essentially distributing the traffic across Cloudflare's edge. Right? We're handling it out on our edge. And then when the traffic comes in to you, it's clean. You're only receiving the clean and legitimate traffic. So, I mean, how exactly do you want, to protect your edge, or exactly how you want to protect your environment with Cloudflare? I mean, that's the piece that the customer has to figure out on their own in terms of exactly how they want to implement it. But the example that I'm going to showcase here is the tunnels, or over here in tunnels, is really just basic IPsec and GRE tunnels that we have here. So once you have the customer configuring the tunnel, they're going to need to add routes that correspond to this tunnel. So if we go here to static routes, we'll go ahead and create this. It's very simple, right? Just a basic description. We're going to set a prefix, priority and weight, and we're going to assign whatever this route is to whatever tunnel it is that you need to basically funnel traffic from your organization to Cloudflare and vice versa. Also, again, if you have priority and weight down here, if you want to have equal cost load balancing, we can go ahead and specify regions that this tunnel is going to be coming out of, and that's going to be relevant in just a moment because we're going to go over to a tunnel health check, and we're going to see that this tunnel that we're setting up here in Magic Transit, that's going to exist in every Cloudflare data center, or at least as many as you want to. So if we go here to tunnel health, I'll click on GRE Lax 3. You can see we have 1 colo down, 18 degraded, 507 of them are currently up. So these are all of the pops that this tunnel is currently being advertised out of. Now, these tunnel health checks can happen on a request or a reply style. We have API documentations which will walk you through how to set that up in both contexts. In addition, we're going to go here to network analytics. Let's go ahead and take a look at a simulated attack that I was able to stop. 1 second. All right, so we have all traffic. Let's go specifically to DDoS managed rules. We can see over here, like this is drop traffic. Let's filter this out. So here's all the traffic that we've been stopping. It looks like as early as this morning, about a few 367 megabytes of traffic that has been identified as a SYN flood, or I guess in a very small minority over here, an ACK flood as well. And this is all traffic that was funneled through Magic Transit, detected as an attack, and then dropped entirely. So again, your organization is only going to be receiving the clean, the clean, legitimate traffic. Also, if you want to apply advanced TCP protections on top of your Layer 3 DDoS, and that's also, we do have a separate tab for this, and also Magic Firewall as well, if you need to have more granular rules on top of the traffic that's coming into your organization. All right, so that is is basically the dashboard walkthrough of how Magic Transit works and how we use that to protect your organization with layer 3 DDoS, so protect your cloud services in the layer 3 context. Now I'm going to go over into WAF. OK, so before I dive into WAF, I'm going to just give a brief refresher for anybody who's not familiar, and I'm going to go into some of the recent exciting capabilities that we've added. Like any WAF, you're going to be proxying your traffic through Cloudflare. We're going to be filtering and monitoring HTTP traffic between web applications and the internet, and we're going to be analyzing characteristics of those HTTP requests to determine whether or not it's malicious, and then we're going to be providing options for mitigation as needed. So you don't need to necessarily change your authoritative DNS. You can leverage our fast DNS, but you can also do a partial CNAME setup if you don't want to change your primary or authoritative DNS provider. Our WAF is also known for its rate-limiting capabilities, so it's applicable to many use cases here, like DDoS, like credential stuffing, like API abuse protection, and limiting bot traffic. And with an account-level WAF, you can also manage a single WAF configuration for all of your enterprise domains. So if I go over here to websites, let's go ahead and select specifically one. I'll be able to manage a WAF for every website that I have configured here. So we're going to go ahead and head over to security. OK, so here we have the security analytics tab, right? So this is bringing together all of our security detection capabilities in one place, and we're going to be showing a detailed understanding of all of the site's traffic and all of the threats that are currently here. So our WAF detects attacks based on variations of like the original signature that's been introduced via managed rules. So what I mean by that is if I go over here to WAF rules specifically, we have some default rules that are in place, like the OWASP top. Ooh, 1 second. Like the OWASP top 10. OK, yeah, we go here to manage rules. You see leak credentials check. We have a managed rule set, the OWASP core rule set. And what we're trying to do is we're classifying each of these requests using a machine learning algorithm. And then we're assigning an attack score from 1 to 99 based on the likelihood that this request is malicious. As we go through this demo, I want to illustrate that a lower score means that it is more likely that this is an attack. This score is not based on rules deployed at the edge. So sometimes people think, oh, you have a rule, and this rule is what's assigning the score. It's not. What's happening here is you have machine learning code that's based on trained models that's being deployed at every WAF location, and it's been analyzing the requests in real time. So the goal is to stop evasion of known attack vectors via slight attack variations. And some of them we're going to be seeing in these rule sets. So let's go ahead back to security analytics. So the data here is across all HTTP traffic, regardless of if any mitigation has been applied. So we have not mitigated traffic versus mitigated traffic over here. Customers can also swap between this HTTP request, the attack analysis view, bot analysis, and a rate limiting analysis view. But let's go ahead and just take a look at attack analysis view. All right, so we have traffic here, and it's classified as an attack, likely clean, or clean. We also have attack analysis on the right here. We can just filter down into insights. So I'm going to filter into all the requests that were not mitigated, but also scored as an attack. And we can also see we have more specific scores down here for attacks like cross-site scripting scores, SQL injection scores, and remote code execution scores, all of which need to be evaluated on different criteria. And we have a slider here, again, in case you want to just filter down specifically in those attacks. So over here, let's say that you've been looking at attacks recently that have been modifying query strings. Right, so over here, we're going to filter into an attack. It happened this morning, actually only a few minutes ago. We see the source IP, right? We see a granular list of data. We also can see the query string in question that we want to take a look at. In addition, if we want to create a custom rule based on traffic, we can simply click on the create custom rule over here, and then Cloudflare will generate a template of a rule that we'd be able to generate that is specific to the traffic that we want to look at. So here, let's go ahead and just create a custom rule. WAF attack score is equal to or less than 20. But also, one thing I can do here, and one thing I want to point out, is that our WAF rules correspond and they integrate with all of the telemetry that you're going to be seeing inside of Cloudflare, or inside of the Cloudflare WAF over here. So let's edit this expression. Ooh. Pardon me. So we'd be able to basically create a rule off of bot scores. We'd be able to go, create a rule off of specifically cross-site scripting scores, off of fingerprints, and RTE attack scores. And again, all of the telemetry that you're going to be getting from the security center can all be applied towards a WAF rule here. So go ahead and back to bots over here. And we have the same capabilities for bot analysis, where you can see if the traffic is automated or likely automated, and then get a quick breakdown of the bot score and its audience. So again, over here, we can go ahead and filter down into anything that has a bot score of less than 20, because remember, a lower score means that it's likely an attack, or anyway, a bot score is going to be, it's likely automated. All right, so over here we have, yep, we were getting bot score sources of like all the, well, basically all the IPs that we're getting automated traffic coming in from. And if we want to dig down even further, then we're going to be able to see, like, we have like low attack scores here as well. So a low attack score and a low bot score means that there's likely a vulnerability scanner being deployed across my organization. So one reason why you would actually really need to have a vulnerability, or why vulnerability scanners are, well, dangerous, is because of APIs, right? So I mean, we all know that APIs, when organizations deploy their API, it has a negative security model, right? It has a negative security model because they need to be able to make these resources available to thousands, millions of people, and they don't want to have to, we all understand this. So if we go over here to API Shield, first off, we're going to take a look at endpoint management. So these are all of the API endpoints that Cloudflare was able to discover by scanning all of the domains that I've onboarded to Cloudflare. So we can see, like, down here, shows, contains, v1, me, all, again, we have 42 API endpoints here. And if we want to, we also have recommended rate limiting per 10 minutes for each of these APIs. So I'd be able to create another rule that would then be, okay, if your request is get, if your host name is, my domain, and if it is this URI path, or the path of the API, let's go ahead and apply a rate limiting rule to this, and we'll be able to just simply directly apply our recommendation for that. I'm going to go ahead back to API Shield over here. In addition, we also have discovery. So again, we are scanning your environment, and we are detecting new API endpoints. And again, businesses don't always know all the API endpoints that exist in their organization. So over here, we have something called payment info. And this also leads into something very exciting. It's a new capability that we have called sequences. So we use that machine learning code that's deployed at our edge, and we're going to be able to associate different API endpoints that we see in sequence with one another. So let's go ahead and click on this one. It's got a correlation score of 97%. You see that we've got 2 APIs in a row, and what that means is whenever we see one of these API endpoints, we usually see the other one in succession, right? So if we go down here to another one, we have 4 APIs that Cloudflare has been able to see in succession with one another. And what this means is it is categorized these as a sequence. So you can create a rule that says if I get something that is like, if I see an API endpoint that is payment info, it has to be preceded by these 3 or 5 or 7 endpoints that Cloudflare correlated as coming before it. And then at that point, people are attempting to just initiate one part of that API request, and they're trying to do, you basically have a bad actor just trying to replay that, then this is going to stop it outright. In addition, if you need to perform schema validation, we do have that here as well. Looks like I'm a little short on time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I'm ready to go back to the slides, please. All right. So really, just to give you a sense of what Cloudflare application security here is like, I mean, what have we done? We've blocked, or we're going to be able to block application attacks with our web application firewall. We are keeping our bots at bay with bot management. We can stop attacks in end-user browsers with Page Shield. We can protect data in transit in case of interception. We prevent API attacks and data exfiltration. And as you saw in the beginning, we can deflect application DDoS attacks, and we can also deflect layer 3 DDoS attacks as well with Magic Transit. So I guess to wrap it all up, this is not all of the capabilities that Cloudflare has here. I just wanted to show you a little snippet of what was there on our dashboard to be able to block common attacks. But when it comes to Cloudflare's greater portfolio, we do have an extremely effective zero trust platform. If you scan this QR code, it will bring you to a page where you can sign up for a free trial. You will be able to get free services for up to 50 users, and you'll have most of what's currently available in our free tier. Go ahead and please check it out because you'll see the Cloudflare difference. Thank you.